Welcome back. I'm Mandy,
I'm Rob.
and we're out of Ipswich.
Loki's somewhere around, but you can't see him.
He's sleeping. In this video, we're going to continue in our travels through Guatemala, but we're also going to tell you why we are heading back to the United States.
We've told you guys all along that we are going south, all the way as far as we can possibly go. But when we got to Antigua, we decided not to do that.
While we were in Antigua, I took a good hard look at our spending and our remaining money that we had in our budget.
We did a lot of research before we set out on this journey, and everything that we read, we internalized, we digested it, and we tried to be as conservative but reasonable as we could be. So we actually budgeted more than everything that we read recommended. Yet we've still come up short.
Our research when we were planning the Pan American trip was that on average people spend between $80 to $100 a day throughout the whole journey. So that includes shipping fees for the vehicle, extracurricular activities, food, fuel, camping expenses, etc.
What Mandy found when she did her research was that on our average over the past several months, we've been spending about $200 per day. Each month, has its own one-time expense thing that doesn't recur. Just as one example, we had to bring Loki to the vet prior to crossing the border to get him up-to-date vaccines, health certificate. We got him a large bag of food, his toothbrush, dental stick things.
His heart guard and neck guard for an entire year, which is expensive.
But ultimately, that one day was very expensive, and it contributed to the total expenses for that month. And it made every day subsequently more expensive and closer to that $200 a day mark. So it's easy to ignore these types of things when you're projecting your budget forward, but to us it feels irresponsible and kind of ignorant because it seems like every month has at least one large expense that, doesn't recur in any other month. But we used the numbers that we had to extrapolate forward, and we ultimately realized we don't have enough money to go all the way to Patagonia and back.
I'm also wondering now if we factored the dog into our budgeting. I don't think anybody had an estimate on expenses for a dog, and they do incur border fees and vet expenses to get the health certificates. And obviously we buy him food, but I don't know if we factored that into our $100 a day.
I don't know. A lot of times, and in a lot of ways, it is like having a third person in our van all the time.
Yes.
So, with all that in mind, we had some decisions to make, and this is part of why we spent so long in Antigua, Guatemala. We stayed there for a total of 6 nights, I think, and we spent a lot of time talking through our options and trying to come to a decision, which ultimately we couldn't do.
It's really hard when you have this goal in your mind and you've been working towards it for 5 years.
Probably longer than that.
Yeah, 6 years, and all of a sudden you're beginning to realize that it might not happen, and that's on us for poor planning. So we had a couple of options. We could continue all the way to South America and
figure it out
along the way, or just spend all our money and be stranded in South America at the end, which would probably be October-ish from our budget projections.
We have plans to meet my sister and her husband Nate and their child Max in Panama City at the end of April. Where was I going with that? So, that's been a major milestone for us, and when we were in Antigua, which I guess as you're watching this video, we've just left Antigua, and we were trying to decide which direction to go. In real life, it's about 3.5 weeks later. So, we had to get to Panama City, one way or the other. And We were trying to determine if we should drive there and then turn around from Panama City to head back north, or if we should just go north from Antigua. And a major factor for us in making this decision was the general weather trends. We're getting into the warm season in Central America, and pretty much everywhere south of Antigua was going to be hot, like 100 Fahrenheit hot. And in a van with no air conditioning, it's uncomfortable.
We could have kept driving south from Antigua to Panama City, and we had about 4 weeks to do it, so it is possible, but that also included 5 more border crossings, which you can't really count as a drive day because some of them take a long time, and it's also extra expenses.
What we were looking at was trying to delay as much as possible and stay in Antigua and the surrounding areas where the climate was comfortable, and then at the last minute drive straight to Panama City so that we could stay out of the heat as much as possible. And then once we were done visiting with family, turn around and drive back north as quickly as possible. And ultimately it just didn't really make a lot of sense to just drive there for the sake of driving there, to turn around and come back and get out of there as quickly as possible and not actually see and experience the places that we were traveling to. I read something a long time ago about decision making. If you can't do it and there's nobody else to do it for you, you can flip a coin, but you don't have to commit to what the coin says. So you're still ultimately making the decision yourself, but when you flip that coin, you have to pay attention to your initial reaction. And if the coin is revealed and you feel excited, then you know that the coin is correct. But if the coin's revealed and you feel disappointed, then just go with the other one. I mean, the coin helped you to make the decision, but you still ultimately decided yourself. And you're not locked into doing what the coin says. I hope that makes sense.
So we flipped a coin, and the coin said to go north. And Rob and I thought about it, and neither of us felt disappointed with that coin flip. So we decided to head north. And we went to Coban. At the end of the Coban trip, Rob and I had also done some debate again about where our travels continued. We were still kind of figuring out what we wanted to do, and we made a pros and cons list about going north or south because we weren't fully committed yet.
It was a rough couple days trying to come to grips with the decision that we had made.
But we worked through it, we talked through it, and I think we're both satisfied with the decision that we've made. In the foreseeable future, our YouTube videos will show you our travels through northern Guatemala, Belize, and back through Mexico. Hope to see you there.